Okay, let's simplify these cube roots. So to simplify the cube roots, we want to look underneath the cube root and determine what things are cubed that we can simplify with that cube root. So 64 is actually 4 cubed. And so this is probably one of those ones that it's good to just be kind of aware of. Like 4 times 4 is 16, 16 times 4 is 64. So we can write 64 as 4 cubed. All right, and then obviously that x cubed is already cubed. And then y to the 4th, we can break that up. We can write that as y cubed times y. So that y by itself, you can think of that as having an exponent of 1. And if we go backwards and we have y, that base of y times another base of y, we would add those exponents and that gets us back to the 4. Okay, let's just stick with this cube root. Now, we can break this up. So we have cube root of 4 cubed, cube root of x cubed, cube root y cubed, and then cube root of just y. I'm going to write that without that exponent. Now, taking the cube root of something that's cubed cancels it out. So we're going to be left with, so the cube root of 4 cubed is just a 4. And cube root of x cubed is just an x. All right, the cube root is canceling out that cubing. And then cube root of y cubed is just y. Okay, so the last one, cube root of y, well, y, there's no cubing there to cancel out, so that just stays cube root of y. Okay, now let's just follow the other expression all the way through. We can kind of go through a similar process. Let's rewrite, if we can, those things, those bases on the those bases underneath the cube root as things cubed. So -8 is -2 cubed, right? -2 squared is +4. +4 times -2 gets us to -8. All right, x, I can't write that as something cubed, but that y, all right, we can write that as y squared cubed. Right, so if we go backwards, we have exponent to an exponent. 2 times 3 gets us back to that 6. Okay, so now let's break that cube root expression apart. So we have the cube root of -2 cubed, and we've got the cube root of x, and the cube root of y squared cubed. Okay, now again, the cube root is going to undo the cubing. So the cube root of -2 cubed is just a -2. Cube root of x, well, that doesn't have any cubing to undo, so that stays the cube root of x. And then cube root of y squared cubed, that just leaves us with y squared. Okay, so let's bring this all together and combine bases where we can. So let's start with the constant terms. We have a 4 times a -2, so we'll get a -8. And then we've got an x here, so we'll just have x. We've got a y and a y squared, so that'll give us y, and notice that we're multiplying all these things, so we're going to add those exponents. So this y has an exponent of 1, so adding that to 2 we get y cubed. And then let's take care of the things that are underneath the square root still. Or I'm sorry, it's not a square root, it's a cube root. Okay, so we have got an x and a y still underneath the square root. So what we end up with is -8x y cubed times the cube root of xy.